Deuce. Wait, are we not live? Oh, we are live.
There we go.
We're live. We're
We'll do it
live on
live.
a Wednesday. Welcome to Deucecast Extra. Excited to be here to talk about the Acolyte, the steaminess of the Acolyte. We will definitely talk about episode 6. Couple more episodes left. It's a great holiday weekend. We're here to celebrate America. Welcome to America. But first, of course, we need to go around the horn and talk about. What's going on?
We're good.
Okay, I think that was a Roth mishap there. We're good though. We're good. Oh, he wants me to go over here. I see what's happening. Let me see. Remove. There we go. Look at that. The magic is here. Garrison, talk to us about how you extraed this week.
That's a great question, Mikey. I could go in several different areas with this. I'm going to start out by saying, well, you know what? I'm going to go with Quiet Place Day 1.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I saw this in the theater, in the theater, locally in our GTX. When I was walking in the GTX, I heard a family go, well, the GTX is our big screen in our town. I heard a family go, Inside Out isn't on the IMAX?
Oh, gosh.
And I walked in to go see my movie on the IMAX.
Good for you.
Yeah, on the IMAX,
So you can hear all the quiet.
Well, here's what I love about the Quiet Place crowds. I have seen 2 of these movies in theaters now. I didn't see the first one in theaters. I wasn't frequently going as much as I do now. I saw the second one. It was, theaters had just kind of opened back up in the last 6 months when that one had come out. It was a great time. Audiences were really respectful. I was worried with this one. I was like, man, this is the big auditorium with the big audience on Saturday afternoon. I walk in, people are on their phones. I'm like, I hope that this, people can be on the phones in pre-show. I don't really, that doesn't bother me necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's like, when you see them still having them out during the trailers or something, I'm like, oh, no. Thankfully, everyone put their phones away by the time the movie started. People were quiet. They were respectful.
That's good.
And they laughed when they needed to laugh. The film, though, was so interesting because I think it's very different from the first 2 films.
I'd agree with that.
If you haven't seen it,
that's true. That's very true.
Let me say this: if you haven't seen it, but you have seen Pig, I think Pig might be a better, kind of.
I mean, same director, obviously.
It's Michael Sarnowski or whatever his name is.
Sarnowski, It did feel. You know what? I felt that same thing as I was watching
I haven't seen Pig yet, so I can't say.
Yeah, I felt that same thing.
It felt very Pig to me, and it was about living, and Pig was not about revenge. Pig was a story about a man whose pig was stolen from him, but it wasn't John Wick. That was the whole point. Was
right.
It was kind of the anti-John Wick film of the year that it came out. It was such a fascinating little indie film that had 10 different production studios play right before it. That made me laugh in the theater at the time. Pig did. But seeing this director take on a big franchise like this, I think he really knocked it out of the park. It's one that I would recommend people go see. It is not I don't really know that it's that horror. I mean, there are horror elements.
I didn't find it to be.
It's really
that much,
more about these people kind of just discovering, what it is to live during this time, and you have one of the characters who is in hospice when the movie starts out, which is such a bummer to start out with the film, but they do such a great job with her character. And Joseph Quinn showed off some real chops in the film as well.
I agree, and it makes me excited for Fantastic Four now because I think he's going to be a great Ben Grimm.
I agree.
He's not Ben Grimm. He's Johnny.
Oh, Johnny Storm. I'm sorry.
Blaze it, flame on, man.
Eben Moss, whatever.
Rocker.
Yeah.
Buckrock. Great. No, that's awesome. That's a good extra. Dr. Earl, how did you extra this week?
Well, so here's the thing. I also saw the same thing that Garrison saw, and I saw the same thing that you saw, Mike.
Yes.
Mikey, you're looking a little John Roca-ish up there with that hat on. Are you the Outlaw Nation?
No, I'm the Horizon and American Saga, Chapter 1.
So
Howdy, partner.
I'm going to let you guys talk about that. I think I'll talk about the bike riders. I
love
bike
that.
riders.
Yeah.
In fact, because of the bike riders, I missed being on the show last week. And
Right.
so
Yes.
it barely snuck in for my last week, but
That's true. That's true.
yeah, bike riders. I really enjoyed. It kind of showed the history of where these whole bike clubs came from. They really did come from just more of a club aspect.
Yeah.
And this is based off almost like a photograph book, but with interviews dispersed in it. Directed by Jeff Nichols, who also directed Mud and
Loving
Shelter. What's that called? Give Me Shelter.
Take Shelter,
Take
Mud,
Shelter.
Shotgun Stories, Loving.
And I didn't even know that walking in. I just thought, I don't know, just kind of wandered into the movie, and I was like, oh, that's great. That's Jeff Nichols directed this.
Yeah.
Incredible performances. Jodie Comer is really good.
Yes, she is.
She plays this kind of I don't know, high nasally. She's the narrator basically for the story. She's sort of like the audience, sort of introducing. Great performances by Tom Hardy and then Austin Butler. Of course, he just kind of simmers a lot, but kind of has that sort of James Dean look. But you got
but he was good in it too, though. He was really good in it.
He was, and they were both. All the performances were solid, I thought.
Yeah.
I liked that it wasn't necessarily as much about. It was kind of a realistic look at them, not just the sort of glamorized, anti-hero thing. They were just sort of there, and then of course the clubs kept getting more and more violent, and so there is violence there, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Some people feel like the ending wasn't quite as strong, or that it just didn't go anywhere. But I don't think it needs to go anywhere. It's just kind of like a slice of life. Here's the story.
Sometimes it's okay just to have a meandering 3-hour.
Yeah, and it's more of a relationship story. But anyway,
that's set up, Mikey.
Almost like what other movie could we talk about?
Yeah, almost. But that is a good extra. I appreciate. I'm glad you got to see it. I'm always worried that you won't get to see something if I don't remind you to go see it.
That's actually true.
I'm always worried about that.
I need you to keep me abreast of
keep you on the.
Like I didn't even know Kinds of Kindness was here, and then
I'm seeing it tomorrow. So
I know. Jacob,
I think I'm looking forward to seeing Kinds of Kindness. I don't know though.
Hey guys, stay tuned. We will talk about the Acolyte. I'm telling the crowd.
Oh no, I don't care.
Don't leave us.
Who cares about the Acolyte? No. Anyways,
the crowd is here for that. That's what we're.
I know. Roth, how did you extra this week?
Well, let's see. I am just going to continue the trend. Can you hear me all right, by the way? This is
you great. New setup. You sound great.
Yes. Okay.
Very professional.
Good deal. Good deal. I'm glad it works. I tested it on an audition before I had to go to some bar trivia about a founding of the country, which we took third. Amen. Not bad. We are still in first place for the summer trivia series. But I'm going to continue what I did last week and do House of the Dragon because
dude,
I'm just so happy to be in the Game of Thrones universe again, and it's so good. They're building all the tension that they need to build, and they're good at, and they're playing the politics, and chaos is becoming that ladder once more, and it's just nice to be back with the dragons.
I freaking love every moment of that show, and it's some of just the best.
It's really good.
It's got such a tight script. I mean, they do not waste any second of screen time at all. There's no wading in waters nude. I mean, you would think there would be, but there's not. That's in a Star Wars instead.
Well, there was. Well,
look, there's more.
Earl, I wouldn't do this, so I'll pull back. Earl.
No. I'm just saying there are some scenes in this last episode where that's
very Westeros scenes. Yes.
Well, no. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like where they'll have like just some random people have a conversation, and that you're going to find out more about them later. But I was just kind of like, okay, who are these people? Like,
the shipbuilders for the
I think all of it.
Like that's all. Like you
good.
Yes,
but some people know that this isn't in the book. Like I get it. There's stuff.
I've never read this book, so like I've also done a good job of keeping myself like not spoiled for it.
Yeah, me too.
So
Awesome.
yeah, it's just so
Anyway,
great.
this
to
is
be
your
back
extra.
in
This
the
is
Westeros universe.
Yes.
It's just so
Yes,
much
yes.
fun, and like I don't know, I think people were down on the first season because they were comparing it to like Peak Thrones, but looking back on that first season, like it was like close to Peak Thrones, and like season 2 definitely is there, and I think from what I've heard on Twitter, it's going to be there the next episode. I think this
Yeah.
next
we're about
I
to
think
have
the whole
incredible.
season will be. I think the whole season
Yeah.
will be
the Dance of the
amazing.
Dragons is coming.
I can't wait. I'm going to start it probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do it.
See,
Do it.
You see, Mikey stopped covering this, so I had no reason to continue watching, even though I was enjoying it. So I just have not watched.
See, we need to bring it back, Michael.
I
Wait,
missed it.
we used to cover it here,
Here's
right?
the thing, yes, I wasn't on when you were covering
Maybe-
it. And I love this show so much.
So once the Acolyte ends, we need to do something. Because we are going to keep having shows every week. Some weeks it's just going to be, I've made a
Tuesday
decision.
nights.
Some weeks it's just going to be, how did you extra this week? And we'll just do an extended cut of that when there's no show that we're covering. Because I want to keep having these episodes because I think people enjoy the group here. So I think I do want to keep going with the show, even if we're not covering a show. But we can cover House of the Dragon after Acolyte's over.
I love it.
I'm okay with that.
I'm cool with that.
I know. I'm okay with that. I'm cool
right.
with it. Espo, how did you extra this week?
Well,
ESPO.
ESPO. In classic fashion, I went back in time to see movies that people have seen that I haven't seen. So Mrs. E loves Godzilla, and we watched Monarch recently.
Yes, Monarch.
And so I watched Godzilla, King of the Monsters, with
nice.
Millie Bobby Brown of all people. This is like Millie Bobby Brown. Oh yes, it was so good, Garrison. I loved it. Like Mothra, Ghidorah, and Rodan.
He's showing all of his Godzilla collection right now.
Dude, I loved this movie, and I was like, okay, it was very well done. The FX were wonderful, good story. It was believable. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So
I'm gonna crush your spirit here, Brian.
What's that?
That is my least favorite MonsterVerse movie.
Well, out of the 5 American MonsterVerse films, that probably is the weakest one.
Wow. I mean, I thought it was decent.
It's fun. No, they're all fun. But that one is kind of the weakest.
Yeah,
one.
I was able to suspend belief for how do they get from belief?
That just means there's more better to come.
Suspend your belief for the next movie, because if you do, it is awesome.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
Godzilla
It's a lot of fun for sure. It's a lot
So
of fun.
so they seem they're obviously saying they're going to go to Skull Island. So that's the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that?
Well, that's a prequel.
Oh wait,
Skull Island's a prequel.
Which one should I watch after Godzilla King of the Monsters?
I guess if you haven't seen Skull Island, then watch Skull Island.
Okay. Yeah, you need to go ahead and see that, because actually it was Godzilla, Skull Island, then King of the Monsters.
Yep.
But the good thing about Skull Island is it's a prequel, so you can watch it whenever.
Yeah, it didn't tie in too directly.
70s, yeah, because
it's like Vietnam
war-ish.
Yeah.
Is that
Kind of ending of Vietnam.
So seeing this directly after seeing the Monarch TV show made a lot of sense. I was like, oh, okay, so this is like what Monarch becomes.
And in fact, Kong Skull Island will make sense too with Monarch, because there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's an early Monarch.
Wait,
So do I need to watch Monarch? Is that worth watching?
It's good. Yeah, I liked it.
I really enjoyed it.
Was that on Apple TV?
Right?
Apple TV Plus, yeah. I thought it was
I
good.
guess I'm gonna have to get Apple TV Plus again.
It's getting a second season too, so I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. Plus, you can watch Wolf or Silo on Apple TV, which is really
I need to pick up Silo.
I watched the first episode of Silo, and I liked it. I just didn't have time to.
Yeah.
All right.
Brian, has Brian seen -1 yet?
Yes.
Godzilla -1.
Godzilla
that's not in the.
I know it's not MonsterVerse, but I'm just curious. Okay,
yeah,
that's still my favorite of the.
Well, I'm of course I'm donning the cowboy hat that I used to wear a lot when we were doing Yellowstone stuff. So of course I have to mention just very briefly how magnificent Horizon: An American Saga Chapter 1 is. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Costner. It's interesting. He doesn't show up for like an hour after the film is has run, and then his character randomly shows up. I really like Sienna Miller's character. Thank you, sir, for putting that on. I really like Sienna Miller's character. She's actually fantastic in the movie. Sam Worthington is very good in the film as well.
He is good.
Michael Rooker.
There was a scene
with Rooker that made me tear up a little bit.
Yeah,
he is really bringing it. And then Luke Wilson, maybe the best I've ever seen Luke Wilson, which, that's not saying much based on his filmography, but he's really good in this. Of course, Will Patton's in it because Costner and Will Patton are best buds. Danny Houston's really good in it. So that's not really my extra, though. My extra is I've got to shout out to my father-in-law, who has really over the years helped me expand my film knowledge and encouraged me to watch older stuff, film noir and stuff. And he told me about a podcast that's actually in its 5th season. I didn't realize this podcast existed, but it's called The Plot Thickens. So the most recent season is about John Ford. And so, and so it's really it's basically, I would describe it as an audio documentary. So it's basically talking about this whole season, and there's already been 4 episodes dropped, so I'm trying to play catch up. But this whole season of The Plot Thickens is about John Ford, his relationship with Katharine Hepburn, just anything and everything about John Ford. It's hosted by Ben Mankiewicz of TCM fame.
Wow. Okay.
And so he basically is putting together this audio documentary about John Ford. So highly recommend it. My father-in-law told me about it, and I am very much enjoying the format of the podcast. And if you're a film nerd, it's cool to hear. What they do is they intersperse actual interviews that John Ford did, and there's apparently this time where he went to Katharine Hepburn's house and she recorded conversations between he and Katharine Hepburn. So it's really, really interesting stuff. But yeah, very, very cool. That's actually my extra. So if you're a film nerd, check out The Plot Thickens on all your podcasters.
Well, and then I could have done Horizons. Oh man, I figured that was
sorry.
So you, sir.
We're an hour in, so we're going to
an hour in.
No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about The Acolyte now, episode 6.
Michael.
The data bank. I'm not doing tonight. I don't care. What's the name of this episode? Corruption and
Teach Corrupt.
Teach Corrupt.
Corrupt. Why don't you let us talk about
somebody else?
Wait. I want to know what this audio description thing is. I want to know I have not heard the.
Okay, so the audio description of the scene
stripping at the lake.
Yes. So the stranger is getting unrobed, and the audio description describes his back as glistening.
Oh,
it's like it makes it seem like now.
So he's a Twilight vampire.
I will say that the scene itself, without the audio description, I wouldn't say that they're trying to go for anything like super like sensual or whatever. But if you turn the audio description on, it does seem like the creator of the series perhaps wanted that to be felt as he was disrobing and getting into the water. So it's kind of just off-putting.
That's not the way I watched it.
It's not the way I watched it either, really. I mean, it was annoying to me that this type of scene was in a Star Wars show. I don't get it, and it's not for me. I don't love it, but it's it's fine if you enjoy the show. I don't care really. We've got 2 episodes left, so of course I'm going to finish the series at this point. But unless some amazing things happen in these last 2 episodes, this series is somebody's fanfic, in my opinion.
He knew she was there the whole time, right?
Sure, he did. Yes.
That was the whole point of the scene.
At least he knew, but at some point,
and he pretty much said, "I'm going to get out of here." He said, "I'm, are you going to come in here? If not, I'm getting out." And
and so like he gets out of the pool completely naked, and she has no emotion on her face whatsoever about it, and that is the most unrealistic play on that. I mean, if somebody's getting out of, it doesn't matter, male, female, whatever. If you're getting out naked, the person that's staring at you is going to have some reaction other than a blank.
This is the modern age, man. People don't.
Dude, it's just it's frustrating. This whole episode. So
Yeah,
somebody else take the lead on this, because it's a bit off-putting to me.
Well, I thought the episode.
Why don't we go around the horn like we normally do?
Yeah. Go, Garrison.
Discombobulated.
Yeah.
I thought the episode was meandering.
Right.
Not really much happens. Not really many revelations.
I have seen
we kind of moved pieces on the chessboard a little closer. Like we almost put them in, from A5 to A6, but it's like right in between,
I've seen people trying to compare this episode's dialogue to House of the Dragon. And I'm like, you're freaking.
I said that, Michael.
But it's not just you. It's not just you, Dirk.
Okay.
This show.
I'm not saying it's to that level, but I'm just saying they're trying to do the thing.
Anyway. Go ahead, Garrison.
Sorry, Garrison. Michael keeps distracting.
I know. I'm sorry.
This show wants a Raylo moment so bad. It wants it so bad. The showrunner of the show is giving interviews talking about how she is approving Oshamir as the ship name now.
Oshamir.
Like right off the bat, like right after the episode comes out, she's already out there talking. They want their see, and what to go off on this stupid side tangent. What they don't realize about Raylo was that was such a massive, in terms of loud force of internet users.
Yeah.
Who came to this conclusion about these two people and shipped these two people that there was really no text to ship.
Right. Yep.
Instead, you're actually manufacturing a real relationship that you want to write and want people to ship it. I don't know. It's not the same thing to me. I mean, Raylo was a movement. This is just the author going, yeah, I kind of wrote it that way.
Every single interview or piece of press from this show or about this show after it started has been the weirdest thing. Yeah. It's just been so weird. But anyways, Dr. Earl, thoughts? I know you liked it quite a bit, but you go ahead.
Liked it quite a bit. It's a strong word, but I was
okay.
Like is a strong word.
Okay, so I thought some of the stuff. I like this idea of Manny Jacinto. I honestly didn't care about him getting out of the water or whatever, but I think I was more focused on him saying things to her.
I was trying to focus
even more so when they got into the inside, but the things about the light and the dark, when he just went semantics.
Yeah,
he's definitely.
That was the Luke throwing the lightsaber behind his back scene. It's all semantics.
Well, no, it's not a disgruntled Jedi. This is a Sith seducing her to the dark side.
He's trying, yeah.
And then on the other side, we're having Saul, like he hugs May, and May kind of has a moment where she's like, "Oh." Now, I think some of the May stuff to me was a little less, like Garrison said, a little meandering. I mean, you got the little gopher guy. I don't know.
What was he doing?
I don't know. He does that. He does this thing where he's spinning,
sneaking all around. And we have, I don't
like. Why not just go tell Saul? Like, you know who it is. He does something where he stomps on her foot, and then the little pip droid squirts fluid on her.
When she screamed when that happened, I almost turned the TV off. I was like, it was the worst acting.
And then that little, the little assistant to the green. I can't even remember her name.
The proper British Jedi.
The British guy.
That guy was a
proper British Jedi.
Magadana.
He was what?
Is that his name?
Magadana.
Mogadana.
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 Half man, half dog.
Mogadana.
He was not a very good actor. Like, he was so weird.
Who is that guy?
It's
Harry Trevelyan.
Where
of course
is
his
he
name's
from?
Harry.
He was in a
Is
Pet
he
Shop Boys
from
video.
Russian Dolls also, or Russian Doll also? Like,
oh, he was in The Bubble. Remember that movie by?
oh yeah, I do.
I thought he
that
was
movie.
just some brand new actor that just stumbled into the. But I mean, the thing he's like, oh, so do we think Master? I guess the only thing I can deduce here, like they get all the way to the crime scene, and he's like, all I can deduce is Master Saul killed them all. I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Where are
He
you
went
getting
straight
this?
to
That's
that.
terrible
And
deduction.
clearly, but clearly, with the visual storytelling, they're showing you that she knows about the stranger.
Well, and there was like voices, and
yeah.
I think there's.
There's a thing, and I think we're going to see the two sides switch. Osha's going to become the acolyte.
I think you're right.
May's going to be. She's going to side with the Jedi. I think there's going to be a swap up, or maybe not. Maybe the two sisters.
I think there's going to be like a Wonder Twins Activate moment, and it's going to be like Super Wonder Twins, and it's just going to be. I don't think either.
They're
I don't
make what?
No, just Wonder Twins Activate as a team.
Here's the thing. I was engrossed with just like I was actually intrigued by the swap up.
No, don't say that.
I think Manny Jacinto's doing a good job.
He's okay. He is. Yeah, he's probably the best. He and Soul are the best characters in the
Amanda
series.
Stenberg, I don't know.
Amanda what?
What's her name? Amandla
Stenberg.
Stenberg, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure that she is. Is she a they or they a she or
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm not sure. When I say they, I mean the two twins.
Yes.
I'm not sure May and Osha, her characters. I don't know what their motivations are totally.
Not anymore. I don't either.
I think
I don't
one of them was trying to switch sides. I guess loyalty to the family.
Well, really, there's no motivation. See, I was kind of surprised. You guys were right, and I'll admit it. You guys were right last week, and I was way wrong about May trying to kill Soul. I didn't think she was going to do that. I didn't think that like her character.
Oh, when she had
I didn't even think that she was even at that point because 2 episodes ago she was ready to just give herself over, and I mean,
right.
Look, yes. Writing. It's just
that's why I was like, they can't be that bad of writing. It can't be that bad where she's just going to all of a sudden change her mind again. But I mean.
I don't know.
So Roth, what's your initial?
Anyway, I'll pass it off to Roth.
Yeah. Let's.
It wasn't the worst thing ever, but I'm still intrigued. I want to see how it ends.
I can't.
I want to know how Dr. Soul is gonna. Dr. Soul.
Yeah. Dr. Soul.
Dr. Scholes.
Dr. Scholes. So, anyways, Roth, how are you doing with this show? Are you coping like I am? I'm like not in a good place with this show.
I mean, no, I'm much better off than you are, I think, because my expectations were lower than yours, and they were never because I feel like your expectations were lifted up, like with how the show started, which I think is understandable.
Yeah, well, and episode 5 was pretty good. I mean, so I thought maybe we were going like I thought things were picking up, and but whatever.
Here's what the problem is that we've got a writing team and a culture where there's no such thing as good and evil anymore. And that's what they're trying to convey, I think, especially with the twins. Yeah. And when you can't take either side and you're standing in the middle of the street, you're going to get hit by a bus and create a terrible show. And that's what's happening.
Well, when the mythos of Star Wars especially has always been black and white and good
and like
evil,
that story is possible to tell, and that's an interesting story, but it doesn't really fit Star Wars, especially when you're trying to tell a grand story with the Jedi and the Sith like this. It's possible to tell in like an Andor thing where you're not dealing with these big mythologies.
Andor is kind of your gray area if you want to go there. And even I have some issues with some of that, but ultimately,
but it's more fitting for these scoundrel characters who don't have the Force, who don't have these abilities that have to be only checked in by their conscience, right? It's kind of like the whole Superman thing. Like, there's interesting stories like in the Superman universe to be told, just like there are with the Jedi. The Jedi can be all powerful, but you have to it's all about like doing good and like being on the right side, facing this evil. And when we've got somebody who's trying to be like, no, you can walk both lines, which is, I think, kind of going to be the point of this show, is my guess.
Well, and it's just like, I feel like that's also what was in Last Jedi, is that you had this idea that Luke, well, I just don't know, I don't know.
And it's why we see these terrible character moments from like May, where she's I'm turning myself into the Jedi. Like, I'll face my punishment. Like, I'm going to explain everything. And then she doesn't do that. And she's like, okay, never mind. I'm going to try to kill a soul. Like, it's just stupid. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's just worthless.
Yeah. Yeah. Espo.
Yeah. What I liked about this episode is that they're trying to chip away at the Jedi being good with Headland's the Green Lady being basically taken to task by the Senate. Like, hey, you're going to come before the Senate and explain. We have a review coming about the Jedi.
Yeah.
So they're trying to take about a notch there. And then it's clear that she also knows what happened. So it's like they're trying to basically
something's up with her for sure.
Something is up, like she knows, and they're all part of like a plot to like hide what the Jedi are actually doing. It just feels like it's like the FBI this group where we think are all good and for honor and duty, and they're not.
And they're not. Yeah.
So it's like
you like that,
like a spit in the face to all of us.
But I like that on other shows. I like that in other, like House of the Dragon, or like other shows where there's always like gray areas of everything. The problem with like Star Wars is that's never really been the thing.
Right.
With Star Wars, the mythos is good and evil. That's the mythos of Star Wars. And it's like not been this like gray area stuff.
Like what you're saying about like Game of Thrones and like even like a Succession, like those shows are so much fun because everybody's the bad guy. Like there's not really anybody that's like got it all. Like Game of Thrones, like original Game of Thrones, like the Starks were kind of that way where they were better, but like Jon Snow had his faults, but like was in all a good person. So like there were a few characters to root for, but like a show like Succession, everybody's a scumbag, and that's fun.
Yeah,
Star Wars, they're supposed to be like Luke Skywalker is supposed to be the good. Yoda is supposed to be the good. Obi-Wan faulted the good. Like Darth Vader, the bad. Emperor Palpatine, the bad. And that's the point of like telling these big mythos stories.
And that's not to say that the characters can't occasionally make bad judgment calls.
Right.
But at the core, their goals are always mostly righteous.
Yeah. I mean, and then you have interesting characters like Han, who has to make choices.
Right.
But like, which way am I going to lean?
Sure. Yeah.
Hero. Hey, Brian, it might be interesting. So I'll be okay. What if this green lady,
Vanessa Rowe? Yeah.
What if Vanessa Rowe is a Sith infiltrate? So it was that she never was good. She was.
Well, that'd be
kind of cool because then
the only problem with that is that she does have a vast history within
established canon.
Established canon history of being a good Jedi. Now, she could have. That's not to say she could have maybe become corrupt at some point.
Yeah.
I think she's complacent in some sort of plot that she knows what happened.
With Soul,
with Soul, and of course, when she's like, I sent them there, right? So like, she sent her soldiers to go die, but we just don't have enough invested in her. I mean, so when she talks to the British kid, she's like, I sent them there, and that the scene sort of ends. But it's like we don't know enough about her command ability to care about whether she's sending Jedi to die. And she seems to be hiding it anyway.
Rowe, I don't know what happened here.
He didn't even finish. He's like, we're leaving in 20. It's like, why are we using this like British vernacular?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so like a point about that
so
whole like the Jedi being corrupt thing, like that could be an interesting story being told in this, but you have to show good Jedi with it. And so far we've just got Soul, but we don't have a background on Soul. Like, if
we don't know if Soul's good,
right?
Well, that's the thing. I'm worried they're going to flip them.
We need the good like Jedi to show that like it's possible for a good organization to become corrupted, right? Which is kind of the story that Lucas is trying to tell in the prequels. And so like we need like a Yoda to like point to be like, this is like the good version of it. And so like I think if we don't get a Yoda in this series, like it's gonna fall flat.
Right.
I mean,
So
not
they
just
already.
Jacob,
No,
exactly.
they already said he's not going to be there. But like a Yoda type character that like they haven't
like
been introduced. That like the pillar of
like
the
a hero,
Jedi.
a hero Jedi. We don't really have.
Yeah,
a
that was
hero
Jedi.
Jedi.
Mundi.
Right.
Oh, they said that they put him in the show because they didn't have Yoda available to them. So.
Right. So we need that sounding board. We need that voice of reason to be like, hey, an outside voice coming in going, hey, we fought for a millennium for this truth and justice. Everyone trusts us. These are our ideals, but we have seen none of that.
And it could really be, and this would make somewhat sense as far as timeline is concerned. It could be that these particular Jedi that we've got here have really no idea how to handle a Sith. They could just be like completely oblivious on what steps they could take, because it's not something that has been dealt with in a really long time. And so for this Sith to all of a sudden pop up, which it's never an all of a sudden thing. The Sith are just behind the scenes doing crazy stuff all the time. And it's always a slow roll of how they eventually show their plan. And there'll be another Sith in this show. This isn't going to be the only Sith. We've got to see the Master, whoever it is. If it's going to be an EU character,
Tenebrae or what's the
Tenebrous, but
Tenebrous.
I don't know if they're going to bring an EU character in all honesty. It's something they certainly could do, and that would certainly make all those EU fans super happy. But I'd almost rather them not touch that and just let that be over there and stay in the EU. But
who do we think gave him his scar on his glistening back?
Well, I mean, the rumors online is that's Vanessa Rowe, because it's a whip.
That's a whip.
Yeah.
So was she his Padawan at one time, or
it'd be reverse. She's older than he is. I mean, I think
I'm
the master.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
meant to say, was she the master and he was the Padawan?
I don't know, man. That's what's crazy. I mean, we're not really.
So when
sure
Osha says, "I've never heard of you," and he's like, "It was a really long time ago."
That was.
I mean, is he ancient?
Well, like that's another thing that's. Because we're supposed to believe that there's thousands of Jedi, right? So,
right.
Like that would be very hard for an apprentice to know every single Jedi that's out there. Right? Not 1,000, but
this is a very small world, apparently.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a stupid line right there.
Here's
right?
why I think they inserted that, and it's because he displayed such strength in the Force, such ability. That she's going, I've never heard of you, and I feel like if you were this good, I would have heard of you as a Jedi.
Who said that?
Osha.
Oh, yeah, on the planet with him. The unknown planet.
The unknown planet.
Well, and Headland has come out and said it's not Acto.
Yeah, in fact, there's some EU planet that it likely could be that Cortosis was on.
Right,
like that mineral or whatever to make the helmet.
She said it's a Cortosis mining planet. So
speaking of the helmet, when it's sitting there, she looks up and there's a beat where you can see the vein of Cortosis in the wall. Is that's what I took it as?
Yeah, there's Cortosis in that planet, the unknown planet, as we know.
The unknown planet. So if it is that planet in the EU yet again,
Batikunk or
there's
something.
there's a lot of connections to Tenebrous, and Tenebrous had this particular student who tried to go after, and it wasn't Plagueis. This was a different character that tried to usurp Tenebrous's power. So who knows if they're going to go with all that EU stuff? I don't know. I mean,
well, can I give my predictions? I
mean, you go for it. We're just talking around.
Okay,
everything,
so I think this whole thing is like this police force. The Jedi are the police. They've gotten too complacent. They've gotten too forceful. They did something on this planet with these witches. Something bad went down. Soul felt bad about it, but covered it up. So what's going to happen is that Osha, he's going to come. He's going to confess it and ask for forgiveness. And meanwhile, Jacinto or whatever, what's his name?
What's the stranger right now?
Darth Thirst Trap is going to be like what I've heard him called. He's going to come here. he's going to be like, strike him down. This will be your time. You can get your vengeance. Feel that force and anger, And so OSHA's going to have to make a choice between. This is what I would like to see happen. Now, I don't know if they're going to go this route or not, because I can't read modern minds. They like to. They don't do stories like normal humans. So progressives don't have.
The stupidest possible thing is usually the answer.
Right.
Yes. Progressives are going to go to. So, but a really good story would be, okay, OSHA, you've got to make a choice now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to forgive, or are you going to kill this guy?
Try and strike Soul down.
Yeah, and become the acolyte
Yeah.
That's my theory. I don't know where May fits into all that. May.
Good.
I don't know.
I want whatever happens to be so
bad that it won't come back.
Well, I just want the storyline to be completely done so we don't get a second season. I don't want there to be a second.
You don't want a cliffhanger. Yeah,
I don't want a cliffhanger. I want them to wrap it all up, and
that's fine with me.
Yeah. Done with it. Tie it in a bow, throw it out, because
just like Horizons.
Hey, you be quiet. Chapter 2 is coming out in August, so
I know.
I at least will get chapter 2.
I'm excited for that.
I am too. I'll be
so
right there.
Where did he jump into hyperspace towards?
That was weird. He just all
right, he turned off his transponder.
Again, I don't think that they're trying to portray him as a good guy here.
No, I think he's
I think he's sending himself to the council ultimately, but he's going to confess something, and maybe it's going to be to May about what happened that night specifically. But
it's so cheap the way that they're ending these episodes too.
Yeah.
With he's like,
I've got something to tell you.
You're going to sit there and listen.
Yeah. I've had 13 years to think about what to say to you, and you're going to sit here and listen. And then cuts to her with the mask.
Yeah, it cuts to her with the mask.
The deprivation mask.
Where she does the Darth Vader breathing.
The Darth Vader breathing.
Yeah.
Right. Darth Vader breathing.
You will sit in your mask and think about the dark side.
Think about the dark side.
It's seriously, it really, this is like a fanfic type of thing, because that's the amateur storytelling that would be in something like that, where they're like, this is such a good cliffhanger, we're going to cut it right out from the middle. And like, no, that's not the type of story that's told.
I will continue to give the show the benefit of the doubt and impress me these last 2 episodes. Like, I like do that, Michael. Try and impress me these last 2 episodes, and maybe I'll forgive the fanfic vibe of this whole thing. But I mean, it's going to have to be some huge revelation that is not just. It's going to have to be something that's not just relevant to this series, that has ramifications through the whole Star Wars universe for me to care about this show anymore. I mean, because right now I have no connection to any of these characters whatsoever. I mean, I just could care less about what happens to any of them, unless they do something amazing in these last 2 episodes that makes me be like, oh, okay, well, that was pretty cool, actually. And it has a connection to the overall story, which what is the overall story anymore? We really don't know. I mean, that's the biggest problem under the Kathleen Kennedy era, is there's no semblance of cohesiveness in any of these series or anything. I mean, so it's just like Mando's the only one that had some cohesiveness, and
that was because of Favreau.
You're right, and that was Favreau. And maybe we'll continue that in the film, but I mean,
and Filoni. I shouldn't totally.
I don't know. Filoni's on my bad list now for letting this show go to air.
I mean, Ahsoka was cohesive enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly connected to the animated series and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's fine.
It's mid, but yeah.
I just want this show to.
I just want a Basil spinoff or whatever that little badger is. I just want a whole show. What's his name?
It's Basil.
Yeah. He's my second favorite character on the show right
Basil Exposition.
Number 1.
Basil.
No. Soul's number 1.
Soul. I think Soul is an interesting character. I think the Stranger's an interesting character. It's unfortunate that like OSHA and May, because of the way that these episodes have gone, their characters are getting less and less interesting.
Yeah, that's not good.
Because both of them things are happening to them. They're not dictating anything that's happening.
And they're
so like with May and even Osha, we're waiting for Soul to tell them something. And the stranger, we're waiting for him to do something to Osha. It's like nothing, everything's happening to them. They're not dictating what's going on in the story. And so if they're your main their main characters, it's kind of like boring because you're just I don't know.
I think what's frustrating for me is that the Jedi aren't acting like Jedi. Like the emotion that Soul is showing,
that's on purpose, obviously.
Yeah, right. And the
self-doubt,
self-doubt and the sort of grandiose things that they're doing. I don't know. It's not Jedi to me.
The angst and the self-doubt within Soul, who is supposed to be a Jedi that is, like a Jedi Master. I mean, I don't think they ever called him that, but I think he is supposed to be like Jedi Master Soul. They had him teaching younglings. It's weird because whatever horrible thing that he thinks he did in the past, I still am wondering if he thinks he did something that was actually an accident. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But
that's interesting that maybe he'll be vindicated.
Right. I think that I think there's still something there. It's just so weird what happened to those witches. They all just were dead. And that's very strange.
Even Vanessa Rowe acts like she doesn't act like a Jedi. Is that what you're saying, Brian?
She knows something. Like
she's shady. She's a little sus, as the kids say.
Yeah,
she's trying to hide something from the Senate. She's trying to hide something from her Padawan.
Yeah.
She even on the planet, she's like, "We're gonna do this." She's shady, and like you said, Garrus, it's on purpose. We're meant to, and what's her name? Hedlund has said this. Like, we're meant to question the goodness of the Jedi. Like, not
at the same time. To Ross' point, where are our shining examples of? I mean, we can have throwaway good Jedi. That doesn't really matter. Where are the shining examples in the show of the good Jedi? I mean, because there are good Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't see Ki-Adi-Mundi enough to even know if he's good or bad.
And the problem with like some of the Jedi that we did see that were trying their best to be good and everything were kind of just like lame characters, like Yord and this Harry Potter Jedi. I mean, they're kind of like lame
the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
Jackie. I like Jackie a little bit. I mean,
Jackie was fine, but
she was trying. She was a Padawan, so
under arrest. I really don't. I don't want them to go the route of, well, these people are all humans and they're all flawed and blah 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 blah. First off, this is a fantasy show about people who are striving for much higher ideals than this isn't a show set on Earth.
It's not, and unfortunately, I think some of this particular series has felt like very much they're infusing modern themes into a fantasy type show. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just
we watch
put a little bit by the show.
We watch all shows with our baggage of our life experience, right? So when we watch this, I think about the entire canonicity of Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's hard to disassociate that.
And that's it. Look, and I will have to. I'm not giving Hedlund a pass at all, but it does make it very difficult for anybody coming into the Star Wars universe to tell a story that they brought to the table. I mean, she apparently brought this story to the table, and they let it go forward. But it's very difficult when you do have all of that history that's been on screen already. And if you do something a little different, it's...
Well, do you think they said you can only do this at like a different generation? So you can go back and do that with past Jedi,
I don't know,
100 years ago or something.
To
preserve the canonicity of the,
Yeah, I mean, she certainly didn't come to them and say, I want to do this story set 100 years before the fall of the Empire or whatever. Or the rise of the Empire.
You can do things like this because, a lot changes in 80 years. So, we can see, if they set it up for the last episode is, them fixing the corruption in some sort of way. But I just don't see that happening. There's not enough
I
time.
don't.
They haven't introduced any of the characters that could do that.
That's why I'm really afraid that there is a second season planned. I'm terrified that there's a second season planned because I don't know that fandom can handle another season.
They would have said it.
Acolyte.
I think they would have said it.
You think they would have said it already?
I think
I
the
feel
last
like
scene-
because Andor, which got 2 seasons, they pretty much said, straight from
Like,
the jump. First off, they
yeah.
said it was going to be multiple seasons, but
Yeah. That's
I
true.
just feel like,
right.
I don't know.
For Earl, I hope the last scene is they showed the new class of younglings, and Yoda is the one of the younglings.
Oh,
Well, he'd be a teacher. He's on the council right now.
At 100 years, 100 years before.
Yeah, he's actually
Yeah,
supposed to
he's
be
like
on the
1,000.
council right now.
Oh.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
1,000 years old.
Maybe they
or
show
400 years old.
900 years old. You look.
Yeah, but apparently according to Garrison, we've already had the only member
Why-
of the council.
Why
or
can't
Kaya
we
Mundi,
see?
he's not
Why will they not let Yoda be in this? You said something.
Well, they've got
They're
other.
not good
sports
enough
people.
writers, probably. They're like, this
They-
story sucks. Yoda's not.
I mean, I'm
said, well,
okay.
no, they said something about he was doing something else at this moment. So I don't
yeah,
know. something
he's
that-
That's what
off.
they told. That's what they told Leslie Haslam. They're like, yeah, sorry, Yoda's busy right now. We can't book him. To...
He's busy right now.
he's on another project.
Maybe
He's
they
hanging
wanted
out
to
in
use.
Galaxy's Edge right now. He can't really.
Maybe they wanted to use the old ugly Yoda puppet from Phantom Menace, and
Oh,
Lucasfilm
that's
was
it.
like, no.
the original, the
The
ugly,
original, like,
the one that was terrifying.
It's awful.
Well, I mean, look,
That's
historically, penultimate episodes of any given series are honestly usually pretty good. So maybe we'll get a pretty good episode this next week. I hope so.
You're not really expecting that, are you?
They should do
I'm
a
trying to.
double.
Maybe
They
I
should,
shouldn't.
like,
but
They should double it up this week and just do the finale, like a finale.
Just close
two-part.
this end.
get it. Just rip the Band-Aid off, man.
Put us out
I mean,
of our
just-
misery.
Let us get to the dragons. Let us get to Hot D.
you're ready to talk about House of the Dragon.
Let's talk some hot D. Yeah.
Yeah. What? What'd you just say?
What just happened?
Okay, Garrison. Where can people find you on? Unless you've got anything else to say about this episode.
I don't.
What did we think about the lightsaber whip? No big deal to me.
I don't really care.
I didn't
Kinda
even
dumb,
see it.
but-
I watched it
Fun.
twice, and I must have fast forwarded through. I didn't even see the.
It
Oh,
was
you
a
didn't
pretty.
see
It was a
bug
fairly
coming
quick
down.
scene.
It was a
defeated-
behind whip. It was like
She went.
and killed the bug.
She
Those
she
poor
sensed
bugs,
it.
man. Those poor indigenous species to the planet.
Well,
They're just
they don't
Jedi
even
are-
have. They don't even have the budget to have them like a mass attack of them where they're all just like, they just have them come in one at a time. I was like,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of anticlimactic, but
Garrison, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at griffin3 and Instagram. You can find me on Letterboxd at griffin, GRYFUN. You can find me here, obviously, on the Deucecast Extra every Wednesday night,
Yeah, for
or
right-
whatever night we decide to go live on.
Yeah. We'll have to switch it up once school starts back, but yeah, for right now it's Wednesday.
And I think that's about it right now.
Right on. Dr. Earl off the grid and Brian, we'll group these two guys together. They're both off the grid. Can't really be found anywhere except the Deucecast Discord, which we lovingly call the Deucecord. So if you are watching this and interested in perhaps participating in said social media, please email us at thedeucecast@gmail.com. Roth, what is going on? You took a week off, man.
We did. Yes, Good Day for a Movie Podcast is the podcast. You can find me at Roth from Wyoming on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, all the social medias. Our last episode that we released was a couple weeks ago now, Inside Out 2. Good episode. If you listen to it. You got plenty of time because we did take this week off. We were not able to get recorded this past week on Glory. That will be the next episode.
Whoa.
I am
time.
looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, man, y'all
this
are doing
week,
Glory.
I need to text
So
tape
good.
because we have not made plans yet, and we need to.
Don't you dare pod fade on us.
I know. I'm gonna try my best not to.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Pod fading is the worst thing that you can do. No, I'm just kidding. It's not
No,
good.
it is because we're so
No.
far. Like we might as well just continue.
Well, that's like
We're
like
almost to 200.
yeah.
Oh,
You might as
wow.
well. Yeah, at
We're
least
like
get to
3
200.
away from 200. I think after Glory.
Oh wow, only 3. That's awesome. Well, the Deucecast Movie Show, which is the podcast that I release every Roth, I'm sorry. Where can people find you? I forgot to.
I snuck that in. Roth from
you did? Okay.
Yep.
Deucecast Movie Show. We release it every Wednesday. We've been going for, I don't know, 15 years. I don't know how long we've been going on this show, but we actually had a really fun episode this past Wednesday, or this Wednesday that released today, about documentaries. We had a filmmaker by the name of Ken Horstman come on. As you will hear in the episode, he is working and has been for the last couple of years on a documentary series about Bullitt, the movie and the car. The classic Steve McQueen movie Bullitt, and the car
that disappeared.
Dr. Earl and myself got to see a sizzle reel of the series,
man, it was
and
so good.
it looks fantastic. So hopefully that will be coming out. They're waiting for a certain Mr. Spielberg to make a decision about what movie he's going to do next. And try and time their series with perhaps what Mr. Spielberg may be
crazy,
doing.
like how
it is.
Wow.
It is crazy how all that works. But really appreciate anybody that hung out in the live chat this evening. Andrew, thank you for hanging out for a little bit. Makes it really fun for us if anybody's hanging out in the live chat. We can bounce back and forth, except Rhett really is more of a distraction than no, I'm just kidding. But if you
I missed Steve.
What?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I missed Steve Palpatine this week.
I know. Steve _ Palpatine.
No.
It was
more reason to join the Deucecord. I will be dropping my top 10 documentary list.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Got out here.
I'm excited about
You
that.
want to read
Ooh, I
that
might
out?
do one of those. That's a great idea.
You want me to read them?
Yeah, go ahead and read them real quick.
Is that okay? I know
Disturbance in the Force. There's 2 2023 documentaries on here.
Oh, okay. What, like, are these in any order? Or are you just dropping them
10 to 1. 10 to 1.
10 to 1. Okay.
Disturbance in the Force. Dear Rodeo, the Cody Johnson story.
Okay.
Belichick and Saban, the art of coaching. No safe spaces.
Yeah.
What is a woman? Sly. Too funny to fail. The life and death of the Dana Carvey show.
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one.
Jump Shot, the Kenny Sailor story. Spielberg, the HBO.
Yes.
Documentary.
That was
and number 1, probably the best documentary that'll ever be made. Empire of Dreams, the story of Star Wars.
That is a classic. It is a classic.
If you want to see a happy documentary, it's a great Blu-ray you can pick up.
Wild.
Is that Dear Zachary?
Dear Zachary.
I can't believe that wasn't mentioned on our documentary show. After we recorded that episode and hit stop, I thought to myself, wait a minute, we didn't mention Dear Zachary at all. And Dear Zachary has been, F for fake, yep.
Great.
Dear Zachary has been a documentary that has.
He talked about that. He talked about
that for years, thanks to Clay Shaver introducing it to us. It is a devastating documentary. Like, it will rip you
in HD
apart.
I don't even know what it's about.
It is.
Well,
it's about a lot.
It's about a lot, man.
I need to
watch it. Let's not.
No spoilers.
Historian.
I'm not watching this.
Dude, it is wild.
I haven't seen it either, so don't say anything because I'm going to watch it.
Hard pass.
So we'll definitely be back next week. Look, I mean, we're going to finish the Acolyte. It's not like we're going to stop on episode 6. So, of course, we're going to finish out the series. We've got the penultimate episode and the finale over the next 2 weeks. I think the last week we are going to have a schedule change that I'll talk about with you guys a little bit. Not too big of one, but I'll talk about with you guys in a second after we're done here. Hey, if you're coming upon this episode and you're like, hey, these guys are cool, I'd love to subscribe. We're up on our subscribe numbers. They're moving up in a positive direction, very slowly. That's the way it happens on YouTube. You catch an algorithm, you do a hashtag that happens to go all over the place, and people will maybe subscribe to your show. So help us out, subscribe, chat, do all the fun stuff that is required on YouTube, and we will see you next week for the Acolyte episode 7. Have a great night, everyone.